Well, I think this one's going to be a fun challenge, and that's why I started doing a video on it. So the first thing that I noticed is, I saw this share in Facebook, in our Facebook page at Crystal DTF Official, and I thought, oh gosh, that white's there, but no, shared via photos.google.com, which is actually new for me, and I can click on it. And I can see that it's a transparent PNG. So that's freaking awesome. Thank you so much. So I've just been sitting here thinking about how to tackle this problem, because there is a problem, I mean, if we take this down and we pull it open in Photoshop and we put white behind it, and I'm just using white because, that's where you're going to see all the problems with the design like this. It looks great on black, but it just looks absolutely awful on white. And it does say that it's been upscaled, but let's look at the actual size. It's only 1444 pixels wide, which might be fine for like a left chest or something. But it's also got all this, space around that we have to clear up. So a couple of different things we can do to get this going. You got to get things headed in the right direction. And I'm just thinking out loud, and I apologize for that. So I'm gonna isolate the softball, right? So let's start with that. We're gonna isolate the softball. We're gonna just use our marquee tool and just select around that part. Select that layer. Control X, Control Shift V. And let's just work on the biggest problem child. And we've got these dark marks that we don't want. So we're just going to grab this color. Ooh, see, that's rough. That's not a good selection. Okay, so let's put it on black. Okay, and I'm going to merge it down. I'm going to duplicate this layer and merge it. Control E. And then we're just going to select just this part. Yep. Control C, File New. So all we've done is we've made it black and white. Then we're going to invert it. So we're going to do Image, Adjustments, Invert. Okay. Ooh, we still got those problems that I'm struggling with how to get rid of those. Okay, and then let's just do Image Adjustments, Threshold. Let's see if we can deal with it that way. That's going to make it real pixelated. That's terrible. All right, so let's do Image Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. Let's raise the brightness and increase the contrast. Okay, so that's better. I mean, regardless though, I think we're not going to get a good trace out of this. We might actually. Let's just grab our brush tool and we'll switch to black and white by clicking the little dots. And let's just try coming in here and getting rid of some of this. I just started seeing something that I thought, well, maybe this will work for upscale. Maybe we can get upscale to like fix this mess. We just want to definitely get rid of those little guys. Looks like there's some. So I'm going to shift click up here to draw a straight line. I still had to kind of pass in there. And then we'll just grab some of this. So we're just looking for where we've got the problems. Okay. And then let's do image size and look at our size. So we are going to look at this in pixels. So it's 818 pixels. It's pretty small. And let's look at it in, I'm doing Control 1 and I'm at Control 1. And that means, I'm looking at it pixel to pixel. And this is actually pretty sharp. Okay. So let's export this guy. And we're going to call this Saints. That's going to be our So I'm going to say Saints softball trace. And then I say we upscale it with 1, just 2x. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, things still look sharp. Looks good. All right, so we're going to go into Inkscape. So far we've used Photoshop, which is not free, but it is the best thing. Photo P is the option if you don't have Photoshop. If you don't want to buy that, which I highly recommend you do. And then we're using upscale.org's desktop software, which is completely free. And then we're using inkscape.org, which is also completely free. All right, so we're just going to go to our trace bitmap, path trace bitmap, and then hit apply. And then we're going to delete this image. And we're going to look at our results. And it's not perfect, but it's not bad. You know, I see things that I would love to fix, like this. You know, makes me actually want to just go with a bigger image. Let's do that. All right, let's go back to upscale. Let's go 3x, upscale it. We'll go ahead and delete this path. Delete. And we'll find our 3x one. It's just going in the folder. And we'll see if we get a better trace out of that. And we'll just go boom. We'll delete our image. Yep, it's better. There's little things about like these curves that are better. And I mean, you know, it's a different world when you're working with your own artwork versus like when you're doing what I'm doing right now, which is just kind of fixing somebody else's. And so, you know, you just have a tendency to do more, I think, with your own. You know, it's not because you don't care as much about somebody else's, but I mean, I'm just, you know, trying to help here, and it's just different. So, you know, like something like this, I'd probably convert that to like an auto smooth and like, well, I did too many, sorry. I'd like hit that, do auto smooth, and just pull it out a little bit, just make it a little softer. And try to help these curves. And that's something that can take forever. You know, that is an eternity of editing. So I'm not going to do that, but I just wanted to point it out that that's what I would do. Okay, and so now we just need to convert this to white. And we can leave it black here. We can leave it black here. Let's save it. And we'll call this Saints softball.svg. It was already .svg. There we go. And let's bring it back into our document. So now we're going to go back to our document. And this is our working document. We're going to make the size of this a lot bigger. So let's do, well, actually, we can keep it at 1444 based on the plans that I have. We're going to use all vector smart objects. And we'll just drag in that softball, and then we'll do blending options, color overlay. We'll make it white. And you know, when you are asking for design work, the more info you can give the designer that's helping you, the better off you're going to be. We're both going to be better off because, you know, I'll know what you want, or they'll know what you want if it's not me. And in this case, wow, I'm not sure why it's so off. Let's see. Let's just drag this up. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's perfect. Okay, it is perfect. But in this case, I don't know if they do want a little bit of a stroke around the outside. You know, directed, you know, saying the softball should be just pure white. Like, that's really helpful. And, you know, that'll just help the person that's doing the work for you, you know, just to know that you're getting exactly what you want. All right, so there's our softball. Okay, so this layer, we'll just do the same thing. We'll duplicate this layer over on a new document. And we'll put black behind it because that's where we can see what we've got going on. And then I'm going to try to convert this to black and white and just see if that works. So sometimes in mode or adjustments, black and white, you can kind of find some way to get rid of, no, it's just because I've just got gray, so nothing's saving me here. So no big deal. All right, so let's try to do image adjustments. We want to separate that gray. We're going to do brightness and contrast, and we're going to decrease the brightness. Okay. And up the contrast. That's working for me. And then we're going to hit OK. And let's turn this off. That might be traceable right there. I see a little bit of problem up here in this corner. So right here it gets two lights. So let's just paint that out. Let's look for any other problems like that. Control D. Yeah, I think, I see some stuff down here. I mean, that's just not consistent. I think we got something here. All right, let's take this, and we are going to turn off the black, and we're going to make it white, and then we're going to export this, and we'll call it Saints Trace, and then we'll just upscale it like one time. Let's see, what's that take us to? Let's go. All right. Yeah, we're going to go 3x. And then we'll pull that in. File new. And we will pull in that upscaled trace. I'm just dragging it, dropping it from the folder off camera here. And then we'll look at this. So that's controlling our threshold. I think we want it pretty high. We're going to hit OK on that. All right, let's see what we got. Not bad. So this internal part, we can probably just select this and do Control A and knock it out. So we're just selecting that. Control A deletes everywhere we see that little bit. We'll do Control A and we will hit delete. Middle mouse button moves around, or space bar, and then just move your mouse. But middle mouse button's the right way with escape. All right, so no problems so far, nothing dramatic. Lots of little broken up lines here we don't want to miss. So we're just grabbing all of these little guys. I'm hitting Control A. I'm just clicking once and then hitting Control A on each one. And here, Control A deletes. Control A deletes. There's a little guy trying to escape. Okay. And then we'll just exit this mode and zoom out. Yeah. Nope, missed some spots up here. All right. Control A, delete. Control A, delete. I'm gonna clean these up. Okay, Control Shift R, and I don't see any problems. All right, great. So we'll save this as Saints SVG. Okay, and then we'll go back to our document. We had some more work to do. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna go, I'm actually gonna go ahead and close this one. Hang on, we might still use that. Yeah, no, we're gonna close that. And then we're going to go back here. And this is our working document. Okay, so I'm going to close all my others because I got way too much stuff going on here. All right, and then this one, we'll do that same thing again. We'll duplicate this layer and we'll put it on new. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll put the solid color behind it. And we're going to try to get that internal white. So we need to do like the opposite of what we did before. So we're going to do image adjustments, brightness and contrast. We're going to take the contrast, the brightness down. Yeah, we are sort of doing the opposite of what we did before. We're just looking for this to be, we're doing the same thing we did before. We're looking to get that white. Okay, and then we're going to merge this down. And then we're going to do image adjustments invert. And we're going to get our black. Okay, our white is now black, is what I'm trying to say. All right, let's export that as a ping. So we'll call this Saints Trace Inner. And then we'll go back into our, we need to upscale. And we need to upscale the same size. We'll do Saints Trace Inner, open, upscale it. Probably should have done both of those pieces at once. But we're gonna make it work. So now, I'm looking for that upscaled image. We'll scooch it down, and we've got to line it up, which I really feel stupid for creating that problem. All right, so there's that. Let's just scoot it up, line it up. Pretty close. Yeah, we'll make it work. Okay, so that's going to work for us. And then we're just going to trace it. And I mean, people that are experienced are probably looking at me like, why aren't you doing X, Y, Z? Because this is how I'm doing it. So, all right. So this, I have no idea what happened. Let's Control Z some stuff here. All right. Yeah, that path's there. Okay, and then that's there. So this is our inner path, and we'll just clean it up. So there's a bunch of free floating things here. No, it's just right here. And then this little thing right here. And I do see a little bit more problems right here. So we're just selecting them and deleting them. And then I did spot another little thing. So small. So we're just deleting that little. Oh, they're all over. I'm going to scan for those. And I've seen a little tiny thing. This is just getting really nitpicky. But right here, you can just take these little guys out of the equation. And then what you can do is you can convert both of these to auto smooth and just let them be. Yeah, once you start tweaking, it's hard to stop. Okay. And then I'm going to grab the internal part of this, which I think that looped all the way around. Nope. And nope. So we'll grab all of that, just that internal part. And then I'm going to do Control C and exit and Control Alt V. And then I'll turn this path off. And this path, we'll turn it back on so we can see it. And I'm just going to grab the external part And that did get everything, yeah. I don't know, it didn't get the inside of this A, but I'm not sure that that's a problem. I don't think it is. Okay, so I'm going to do Control C, and then I'm going to select this path and Control Alt V. And so this is going to be my whites, and this is going to be my gray, and then this path we don't need anymore, so we'll just delete it. And then we'll make the whites whites. So we can see what's going on there. So we got our white inside. And the reason I selected that outside is so that it would just match that perfectly and not have a gap between the two layers. Like, I don't know what the intention is. Like, if that black line is intentional, I don't think it is. And so I've just decided to not do that. Which, you know, again, back to the instructions. The more instructions we can have, the better off we are. So I would say this, I just need the gray outline and the white stroke inside. And then I'm going to grab just a pretty part of this gray. So we're just grabbing that color. This time I'm coloring it in Inkscape. And then we'll just put that gray color right here. So those last two digits are the transparency, and the first 6 are the color. All right, and we're just going to save this now. I'm not sure where my save window went. File, save as. And we're going to call this Saints SVG. Yeah. Okay, replace. Okay, and now we'll go back to Photoshop, and we got our softball. We got to leave this one on so we can pull in our SVG. So there's that, and we'll just hold Alt and scale it down. Okay, it's just not centered. It was scaring me that it was like distorted somehow. Close enough. We'll turn this layer off, so we just got our 2 layers here. Move these guys up. We'll Control G on them. Let's call this artwork. And I don't know if I'm like seeing some edginess. Oh, it's because the image is not the right size. Oh, what's that? We don't want that. So what you do now when you've got it in here is you can double click this smart object and it'll pull it open in Inkscape for you. And I've confused myself because I have too many open, so I'm just going to close the other ones. So I'll just double click that again, and that should start Inkscape because I've set Inkscape as the, you know, the tool to use for that. Okay, and now let's just take this. And we're going to go into this white. That's interesting. Do I just need to do path reverse on that? Let's do path reverse. Let's just try deleting it. No, I'm in the gray. I see. Control Z. I had the gray part selected, so I need to exit that and go to the other path. Okay, so I'm actually just going to grab this, Control A on this, Control C, and go into my whites, and Control Alt V. So that's just a piece that I missed. Okay, and now I can just save it. And it should update. And it did. It updated already. All right, now it seems all pixelated because we got to make this a lot bigger. So let's just do our image size. So I'm going to go out to 6,000, and I'm going to set this to 300, and set that back to 6,000, and we'll hit OK. And then we'll zoom out. Control 1, Control 0. And then we'll look at what it's like. We'll get rid of some of this excess around the outside. So let's just turn off this black background. We're going to do Image Trim, Transparent. Then look at our image size again. Okay, so I'm going to pump this back up to 4,500. So it's 15 inches wide, and the max we go on the height is 19. before I lock this in, I'm just going to make sure that this softball is centered. So I'm just using my move tool, selecting the softball, going align to canvas, and it is perfectly centered. It was already perfectly centered, so that's awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to save this. This is going to be my PSD, just in case there's tweaks. All right. And then I was changing the image size, making it bigger, which is fine because I've got SVGs, so if we look at this, at 100%, it's perfectly sharp. So, all right, and then we're going to just turn this off, and we're just going to do File, Export, Quick Export as PNG, and it's going to be Saints Softball, 4500px, RTP mic. Boom. All right. Hey, I hope that helps.